Okay, guys, hello. So I bought new microphone, and it's been maybe 2, 3 months. I think almost 4 months from the last time, and I wanted to continue with the Moby Dick thing. It's like long way to go. Wherever now, like shit, with only here. Okay, so let's hope this one sounds nice this time. Let's add some light. Right? Okay. Chapter 19: The Prophet. Shipmates. Shipmates. Have ye shipped in that ship? Queequeg and I had just left the Pequod and were sauntering away from the water, for the moment each occupied with his own thoughts, when the above words were put to us by a stranger who, pausing before us, levelled his massive forefinger at the vessel in question. He was but shabbily apparelled in faded jacket and patched trousers, a rag of a black handkerchief investing his neck. A confluent smallpox had in all directions flowed over his face, and left it like the complicated ribbed of a torrent when the rushing waters have been dried up. "Have we shipped in her?" he repeated. "You mean the ship we caught, I suppose?" said I, trying to gain a little more time for an uninterrupted look at him. "Aye, the Pequod, that ship there," he said, drawing back his whole arm, and then rapidly shoving it straight out from him, with the fixed bayonet of his pointed finger darted full at the object. "Yes, and said I. "You have just signed articles. Anything down there about your souls?" "About what?" "Oh, perhaps you haven't got any," he said quickly. "No matter, though. I know many chaps that haven't got any good luck to them, and they are all the better off for it. A soul's sort of fifth wheel to a wagon." "What are you jabbering about, shipmate?" said I. "He's got enough, though, to make up for all deficiencies of that sort in other chaps," abruptly said the stranger, placing a nervous emphasis on the word he. Okay, that was weird. "Quick, Jack," said I. "Let's go. This has broken loose from somewhere. He's talking about something and somebody we don't know." "Stop," cried the stranger. "You said true. You haven't seen Old Thunder yet, have you?" "Who's Old Thunder?" said I, again riveted with the insane earnestness of his manner. "Captain Ahab." "What? The captain of our ship, the Pequod?" "Aye, among some of us old sailor chaps he goes by that name. You haven't seen him yet, have you?" "No, we haven't. He's sick, they say, but he's getting better, and will be all right again before long." "All right again before long," laughed the stranger with a solemnly derisive sort of laugh. "Look ye, when Captain Ahab is all right, then this left arm of mine will be all right, not before." "What do you know about him?" "What did they tell you about him? Say that." They didn't tell us much about him. They didn't tell us much of anything about him. Only I've heard that he's a good whale hunter, and a good captain to his crew." That's true, yes, both true enough. But you must jump when he gives an order. Step and growl, growl and go. That's the word with Captain Ahab. But nothing about that thing that happened to him off Cape Horn long ago when he lay like dead for 3 days and nights. Nothing about the deadly scrimmage with the Spaniard afore the Alta and Santa. Heard nothing about that, eh? Nothing about the silver calabash he spat into? And nothing about his losing his leg last voyage, according to the prophecy? Didn't you hear a word about them matters and something more, eh? No, I don't think you did. How could you? Who knows it? Not all Nantucket, I guess. But howsever, mayhap, you've heard tell about the leg and how he lost it. Aye, ye have heard of that, I dare say. Oh yes, that everyone knows almost. I mean, they know he's only one leg, and that's Parmacetti took the other off. "My friend," said I, "what all this gibberish of yours is about." "I don't know, and I don't much care, for it seems to me that you must be a little damaged in the head. But if you are speaking of Captain Ahab of the ship there, the Pequod, then let me tell you that I know all about the loss of his leg." "All about it, eh? Sure you do. All? Pretty sure." With finger pointed and eye leveled at the Pequod, the beggar-like stranger stood a moment, as if in a troubled reverie, then starting a little, turned and said, "You shipped, have you? Name's down on the papers. Well, what's signed is signed, and that's to be, will be. And then again, perhaps it won't be after all. Anyhow, it's all fixed and arranged already. and some sailors or other must go with him, I suppose, as well these as any other man. God pity them. Morning to you, shipmates, morning. The ineffable heavens bless you. I'm sorry I struck you. Look here, friend, said I. If you have anything important to tell us, out with it. But if you are only trying to bamboozle us, you are mistaken in your game. That's all I have to say. And it's said very well, and I like to hear a chap talk up that way. You are just the man for him, the likes of you. Morning to you, shipmates, morning. Oh, when you get there, tell him I've concluded not to make one of them. Ah, my dear fellow, you can't fool us that way. You can't fool us. It is the easiest thing in the world for a man to look as if he had the great secret in him. Morning to you, shipmates, morning. Morning it is, said I. Come along, quick, let's leave this crazy man. But stop. Tell me your name, will you? Elijah. Elijah, thought I, and we walked away, both commenting after each other's fashion upon this ragged old sailor, and agreed that he was nothing but a humbug trying to be bugbear. But we had not gone perhaps above 100 years when, chancing to turn a corner, and looking back as I did so, who should be seen but Elijah following us, though at a distance. Somehow the sight of him struck me so, that I said nothing to Crooked of his being behind, but passed on with my comrade, anxious to see whether the stranger would turn the same corner that we did. He did, and then it seemed to me that he was dogging us, but with that intent I could not force for the life of me image. This circumstance, coupled with his ambiguous, half-hinting, half-revealing, shrouded sort of talk, not now begat in me all kinds of vague wonderments and half-apprehensions, and all the connected with the Pequod, the Captain Ahab, the leg he had lost, the Cape Horn fit, the silver calabash, and what Captain Peleg had said of him when I left the ship the day previous, and the prediction of the Squawtistic, and the voyage we had bound ourselves to sail, and 100 other shadowy things. I was resolved to satisfy myself whether this ragged Elijah was really dogging us or not, and with that intent crossed the way with quick egg, and and on that side of it retraced our steps. But Elijah passed on without seeming to notice us. This relieved me, and once more, and finally as it seemed to me, I pronounced him in my heart a humbug. Chapter 20. All Aster. A day or two passed, and there was a great activity aboard the Pequod. Not only were the old sails being mended, but new sails were coming on board, and bolts of canvas and coils of rigging. In short, everything betokened that ship's preparations were hurrying to a close. Captain Peleg seldom or never went ashore, but sat in his wigwam keeping a sharp lookout upon the hands. Bill that did all the purchasing and providing its stores, and the men employed in the hold and the rigging were working till long after nightfall. On the day following Crooked's signing articles, word was given at all the inns where the ship's company were stopping that their chests must be on board before night, for there was no telling how soon the vessel might be sailing. So Creekeg and I got down our traps, resolving, however, to sleep ashore till the last. But it seems they always give very long notice in the case, and the ship did not sail for several days. But no wonder. There is a good deal to be done, and there is no telling how many things to be thought of before the Pequod is fully equipped. Everyone knows what a multitude of things, beds, saucepans, knives, forks, shovels, tongs, napkins, nutcrackers, and what not are indispensable to the business of housekeeping. Just so with whaling, which necessitates 3 years housekeeping upon the wide ocean, far from all grocers, costermongers, doctors, bakers, and bankers. And though this also holds true of merchant vessels, yet not by any means to the same extent as with the whalemen, for besides the great length of the whaling voyage, the numerous articles peculiar to the prosecution of the fishery, and the impossibility of replacing them at the remote harbors usually frequented, it must be remembered that of all ships, whaling vessels are the most exposed to accidents of all kinds, and especially to the destruction and loss of very thing upon which the success of the voyage most depends. Hence, the spare boats, spare spars, and spare lines, harpoons, and spare everything almost but spare a captain and a duplicate ship. At the period of our arrival at the island, the heaviest storage of the Pequod had been almost complete, comprising her beef, bread, water, fuel, and iron hoops and staves. What as before hinted, for some time was a continual fetching and carrying on board of divers odds and ends of things, both large and small. Chief among those who did this fetching and carrying was Captain Bildad's sister, a lean old lady of a most determined and indefatigable spirit, but withal a very kind heart, who seemed resolved that if she could help it, nothing should be found wanting in the Pequod. After once fairly getting to sea, at one time she would come on board with a jar of pickles for the steward's pantry, another time with a bunch of quills for the chief mate's desk, where he kept his log, a third time with a roll of flannel for the small of someone's rheumatic back. Never did any woman better deserve her name, which was Charity. Aunt Charity, as everybody called her, and like a sister of Charity did this charitable Aunt Charity bustle about hither and thither, ready to turn her hand and heart to anything that promised to yield safety, comfort, and consolation to all on board a ship in which her beloved brother Bildad was concerned, and in which she herself owned a score or two of well-saved dollars. But it was starting to see this excellent-hearted Quakeress coming on board, as she did the last day, with a long oil ladle in one hand and a still longer whaling lance in the other. Nor was Bildad himself nor Captain Pillek at all backward. As for Bildad, he carried about with him a long list of articles needed, and at every fresh arrival, down went his mark opposite that article upon the paper. Every once in a while, Pillek came hobbling out of his whalebone den, roaring at the men down the hatchways, roaring up to the riggers at the masthead, and then concluded by roaring back into his wigwam. During these days of preparation, Quickegg and I often visited the craft, and as often I asked about Captain Ahab, and how he was and when he was going to come on board his ship. To these questions they would answer that he was getting better and better, and was expected aboard every day. Meantime the two captains, Peleg and Bildad, could attend to everything necessary to fit the vessel for the voyage. If I had been downright honest with himself, I would have seen very plainly in my heart that I did but half fancy being committed this way to so long a voyage, without once laying my eyes on the man who was to be absolute dictator of it, so soon as the ship sailed out upon the open sea. But when a man suspects any wrong, it sometimes happens that if he be already involved in that matter, he insensibly strives to cover up his suspicions even from himself. And much this way it was with me. I said nothing, and tried to think nothing. At last it was given out that some time next day the ship would certainly sail. So next morning, Quick and I took a very early start. Shit, man, I haven't read for long, so my stamina's up for the day. We've read chapter 19 and 20. See you later.